Good morning. It's Saturday 16th of September and it's Brewday. I am brewing a German style, Bavarian style, Vienna style, lager-ish sort of thing. 2 kilos of Schill Pilsner malt. It's got 1 kilo of Munich malt, and it's got 1 kilo of Vienna malt and half a kilo of Carahel. The Carahel is going to give it a bit of colour. It's coming in at something like, I think it's 15 EBCs, whereas all the others are fairly low. I've got the water is on for the strike. I've got the malts are all here for the mash. I'm not mixing them all up together. They're all still in their bags, so they're just going to get added to the mash as and when. It's going to be decocted, so it's going to have a 50-degree protein rest. I'm not going to do an acid rest, but it's going to have a 50-degree protein rest. There's going to be some acid addition in the water, but I think I'm just going to leave it from RO water with a little bit of lactic acid addition, and that's it. Trying to keep it clean and crisp. I don't want too many minerals in it. So that is that. I've got my mash tun there, waiting for the decoction to go in and the first bit of the protein rest. So what else did I say? Oh yeah, I'm rehydrating the yeast. The yeast is the Sapphire 3070 yeast, which is the, I think it's the Weinstefan yeast strain. I've boiled some RO water, stuck it in a sanitised container, and I will pitch the yeast to that and get it started. So it's on the way. It's probably going to take about 6 hours, I reckon. It's Brewday, so it should be finished somewhere around about tea time, and I'm really looking forward to it. So join me on my journey into the abyss of the decoction mash yet again. So hope you enjoy it, and see you back for the dough in. Well, we're back at the dough in. I've got some minerals in there. I've got some lactic acid in there. I've got 5 ml lactic acid. I've got 1.8 grams of gypsum. I've got 1.63 grams of rock salt, and I've got 2.34 grams of calcium chloride, sorry. They're all in there. It's in an 18 litre batch of water. So what we've got to do is we're going to add a bit of grain to it now and get doughing in. Right, it's protein rest. So all the grains are all doughed in. Protein rest is doing. It's coming in at 54. So that's ideal. Anywhere between 45 or 48 and 55 is good for protein rest. So leave that now for 20 minutes, half an hour. Go and get myself a bit of lunch and come back for the first pull on the decoction. Thought I'd get things going. I've got to make a starter, just a basic starter. It's nothing on the stir plate. I've got my Saftlager 3470. It's a Weinstefan yeast, and I've got in here probably about 250 ml of water, 200 ml of water, and a good teaspoon of liquid malt extract. So what I'll do, it's been stirred. The pot has been sterilised in a hot oven, and the water is boiled water, so it's all pretty good. Clean scissors. Open up the yeast packet. I'll put a little hole in the top of the lid, just so that I can close the lid up and still allow it to breathe once it starts to get going. So that is that. and we'll just let it sit now, rehydrate and start activating, and that means that we'll have a quicker fermentation and more healthy fermentation. First pull of the decoction, just go sort of boiling the grains, keep them stirred, stop catching on the bottom. And what you're doing here is you're creating some strong malt flavours by the sort of the caramelisation of the sugars. You add the grains back to the mash to raise the temperature up to the next step. So we've gone from 54 degrees protein rest, and it will go up to 65, I think I'm going to go for. This is only a double decoction, so once I'm up to that temperature, that'll be that for 45 minutes, and then we'll draw it off, and then we will go straight into a mash out at 75 degrees. So I'll do a couple of these, make sure that the temperature's right where I want it, and then what we'll do is take the temperature of it, make sure I'm happy with the mash temperature, and then meet me back at the final taking of the temperature. It's finally decocted for the sack rest, and it's coming at 65.4, which is ideal. By the time the lid's gone on and it's had a bit of time to settle down, it should be pretty good to go. I'll now mash that for 45 minutes to an hour and come back to it later and draw off the thin end, which is the liquidy bit, and boil that for the mash out. So see you then. Right, well, this is the thin end of the mash, as I was saying. You drain it out of the mash tun. So this is like the liquor end of it. There's no grain in here, or very little grain in here. And you heat this up to just below boiling. Then you just add it back to the grains to raise the temperature up to 75 degrees centigrade for a mash out. Leave it there for sort of 10-15 minutes. Drain and sparge as you would do normally, and then sort of add it back to the kettle. Oh, just before I forget, I've got 2 millilitres of lactic acid in here. Stick that in. And that should keep it light, hopefully. Keep the pH, mash pH a bit more in the ballpark. Now this is all a bit hit and miss. When my next purchase is going to be a pH meter. I found the strips a bit too vague, so get myself a pH meter, but I do accurate tests on the kettle pH and the mash pH at kettle temperatures and mash temperatures. So that's one of my next purchases I'm going to make, and yeah, that's about it now. So we're going to boil it. I've got 2 additions of hop, I didn't mention it. I've got 10 grams of Magnum going in at first wort hop, and 50 grams of Sapphire going in at 10 minutes. So that should bring it, I don't actually know, because I've not done a Beer Smith recipe on this yet, so I'm going to quickly load that on and see where we are. Right, the 90-minute boil, well, it's not 90 minutes, it's more like 80 minutes is up, so we've got the first lot of aroma and flavour hops going in. First and only, really, so 50 grams of Sapphire hops going in. It's boiling merrily away. Got the chiller in there as well. So meet me back at the yeast pitch. Right, it's beginning to get chilled, ready for yeast pitch. Got to get it down to about 15 degrees, but if not, I'll stick it straight to the ferment fridge and drop it down that way. Hops are in, hops are done. It's beginning to clarify. All good. Not a bad shout. I'll give it a hydrometer reading in a bit and see where it got to. Right, the boil's done. It's been cooled. Hops have been added. It's now down to 20.6, 20.5, something like that. So it's going to get pitched. Well, the yeast is going to get pitched. So the yeast has been merrily bubbling away. Let's see what I've got there. I had 1 teaspoon and then the yeast just ate all that up, and then the fermentation dropped down in there a little bit, so I put another teaspoon in and it started to reinvigorate itself again. So yeast is growing and it's enjoying itself. So we've got the hydrometer there. It's coming in at 104, 1.046. So it's a little bit down on what I wanted, but I think I've got a bit more volume, which is good. So we'll whack that into there. So being a bit careful. So we'll just whack that straight into that. Then I'll add the yeast. Right, the yeast is going in. So we'll leave that and see where we get. See how much we get from the batch. If need be, if it looks like the batch is a bit too much, I'll start putting some in damage on and ferment it out that way, and then add it back later on when the sort of volumes start to drop, or use it as a don't know, I might use it for krausen it, maybe pitch a bit more yeast in there, get it started, and then add it back cat bottling. So thank you very much, and this really concludes the brew day. No serious issues, it all went fairly swimmingly, and hopefully the beer will turn out spot on. So many thanks, and well, this is Heathen Brewer, and you've just seen another Heathen Brew Day.